The skater says she's hanging up the chicken costume for now. She and her mom say they plan to ask people on social media which inflatable costume they'd like her to wear next. That is
my gosh,
adorable.
First of all, she's so talented.
Oh my gosh.
But she's adorable. I wonder how old she is. Do we know? Like, she looks like she maybe like
very
maybe
young.
9, 10,
I'm
something
thinking,
like that.
something like that. Look how cute.
Oh,
So
my
cute.
goodness.
Great
sense
idea.
of humor. Brilliant.
Oh, I love it.
I love her.
I love it, love it.
All right, something else that's trending here. A woman on TikTok reminding the internet that it's almost fall, so everyone should start planning their butter candles.
What's that?
So it's just butter frozen with a wick inside and then placed inside a loaf of bread. Then you light it. As it melts, the butter slides onto the bread bowl.
Stop it.
A lot of people on social media, they're commenting on the trend saying it's great for gatherings. You just have to have your butter wicks in the freezer ready, and then when people arrive, you light it up. What's better than bread and butter, though?
Oh, that's a great idea.
Nothing.
I'm so sorry. I think that's a great idea.
There are a few things that, like, if there's only one food left on the earth that you could have the rest of your life, I could totally do bread and butter.
I could do bread and butter, and then don't give me a side of pasta. It's just like, you know what I mean? All the carbs.
I know.
Isn't
But
that
it is
something?
good.
And then,
It's
and potato.
yeah, that
Yeah.
too.
I'm
Yeah.
just
Anything
dreaming
you
about
can put butter on.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. That's exactly right.
just a loaf from Publix.
There you
You
go.
guys have it. Just cut it right in half.
You know what we call
Butter.
that?
What?
A girl dinner.
I wish I had it right now with some cheese.
There you go.
Well, listen, we wish everybody a great weekend. Hope you have a fantastic Labor Day.
yeah.
Steph and I will be back with you on Monday.
I'll be
Dee
back
gets
on
the day off.
Tuesday.
Enjoy your day.
Be back on
Enjoy yourself.
Tuesday.
That's right.
Thank you, sweetie
Fun.
pie. I will.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good morning to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer and thanks for joining us on this Friday morning live on Fox Local and on YouTube. We are heading into the holiday weekend, so whatever you have planned for your weekend, if you're traveling, I hope you have a safe weekend. And if you're staying at home, I hope you enjoy it as well and maybe get some time to relax. So something to look forward to on this Friday. We do have also a lot of news to cover today, and we appreciate you joining us. You are definitely in the right spot here on Fox Local. I want to let you know we are standing by for the sentencing hearing for Lawrence Dority. He was convicted last month of second-degree murder in connection with the shooting death of former Orlando Magic player Adreian Payne back in 2022. It took about 90 minutes for the jury to come back with a unanimous verdict of guilty on that second-degree murder charge. The attorneys wanted a pre-sentencing investigation done before he was sentenced. So we do expect him to be sentenced in court. That hearing scheduled for 11 o'clock. I can give you a live look in the courtroom. It's just showing the courtroom seal right now, though, because there are some other matters being taken care of in a couple of other cases that they are dealing with inside that courtroom before we get to that Lawrence Dority sentencing hearing. So as soon as that begins, we will get you to that. And I know it's a case that we've been following closely for several years now, and we brought you a lot of that trial as well. So we won't let you miss that sentencing hearing, and we will get you inside there as soon as that begins. But we begin this morning in Orlando, where signs are now up warning people rather, to, quote, stop defacing the crosswalk outside Pulse nightclub. This has been a back and forth for the past week now, as FDOT has painted over the what was a rainbow crosswalk outside that nightclub site, and the site where 49 people were killed. FDOT first painted over that crosswalk last week, and since then we have seen a number of people painting over it, but mostly chalking over it repeatedly. Crews were out there again last night, and we now have signs up at that site saying that there will be penalties for people who deface that crosswalk. That is the wording on that sign. And Fox 35's Amanda McKenzie gives us a look.
So right now the crosswalk is back to being black and white, but you can still see some of those colorful remains from when it was painted or chalked over. But now on either side of the crosswalk, you see signs saying defacing roadway prohibited and no impeding traffic. Since last week, FDOT repainted the rainbow crosswalk to be black and white, but peaceful protesters have continued to come out and color the crosswalk with chalk. This morning, Bubba Trahan and his friends plan to return to the memorial to color the crosswalk with chalk, but tell Fox 35 that FHP told them that they could be arrested and charged with criminal mischief if they are caught doing it again.
This morning, very early, around 3 a.m., they came to clean the Pulse Memorial crosswalk once again of that chalk that we had placed on there. And then this time they placed signs saying prohibiting defacing roadway and impeding traffic.
The roads are there for either pedestrians to cross or cars to go.
Last month, the Trump administration sent a letter to all 50 states that roadway markings be free from distractions. FDOT is now requiring cities across Florida to repaint crosswalks to standard crosswalk colors and discourage political messaging. Now, as you can see, FHP troopers and Orlando City police officers have been a regular sight at the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot next door, staking out the activity here. Now, we have reached out to FDOT to confirm that this is a new policy regarding people chalking on the crosswalk. They have been told that they can still color the sidewalks with chalk. It is just prohibited in the crosswalk. So we are waiting to hear back from FDOT on that front.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner joins me now. And Brooks, a weather impact day today.
It is, Garrett. We've got some big thunderstorms on the way this afternoon and especially this evening, and it's likely to impact our Friday night plans. Specifically, it's football night for high school football. I'll look around the area right now. We've got variably to mostly cloudy skies, and things are storm-free. We expect it to remain dry through, at least for most of us, the middle of the afternoon. Then we'll start to see some isolated storms popping up at the coastline between about 3 and 4 o'clock, and then that activity will start to work inland after 5 p.m. So we may have a wet Friday evening commute for a lot of us, especially on the east side of Orlando. And then through the evening, most of that activity will start to propagate west into Orlando and into as far west as Polk and Lake counties. Hour by hour, we'll go from where we currently stand in the lower to middle 80s to a high close to 91 degrees at 3. And we'll cool things down in the evening as rain chances go up to about 60 to maybe 70%. Now, any of the storms today could be strong, even severe, with damaging wind gusts and an outside chance for an isolated tornado. Our exclusive Fox weather model doing a good job yesterday on really really nailing where the storms would start and how they would evolve. And it looks like it's on track today for a similar forecast where we'll see isolated storms developing by 3 o'clock, mostly in the coastline. But one difference today is that we've got an upper level system that'll be cruising in from the northwest. And what that will do is start to really pump up the storms, and where they form, they will really push in. I mean, we're looking at the chance here of, I mentioned, rotating thunderstorms. It's hard with this latest computer model to really put down exactly where it looks like they'll be most likely. But I'm thinking 5 to 8 p.m. and it would be in this yellow 60% zone, which is essentially east of I-75, where we'll have a good shot at some passing thunderstorms. And so for a lot of the games this evening, there could be delays. There's a 70% chance for storms across South Florida and a lower chance as you go toward the Gulf Coast. So Tampa's going to have a much lower chance for storms than we will in the Orlando metro region and in our Fox 35 viewing area here in Central Florida. Primary threats will be frequent lightning. Of course, that's a delay thing. When you have a game, they can play in the rain but not in the lightning. Severe gusts and the outside chance for an isolated tornado. As far as Friday night football goes, we'll have a 60% chance from 7 p.m. through 8. So at least the first half. Not every game will be delayed, but you may see lightning on the horizon, and depending on how the teams operate. Usually if you have lightning within about 10 miles of the field, they have to delay it and then wait another 30 minutes after the storm is over to make sure it's safe, because you can get thunderbolts that jump out of the cloud well after the rain has ended. So that's why today's an impact day. I think a lot of folks and a lot of families are going to be impacted by the rain around this evening. And it's really just the start of it, because this Labor Day weekend is going to be very unsettled. In fact, rain totals between now and Monday could exceed 5 to 8 inches in spots. I mean, we're looking at an inch or two here, an inch or two there, and it kind of adds up day by day. But it could be a significant dose of rain for a lot of us, though the majority getting between 1 and 3 inches. Still pretty significant. As far as the rain chances go, we've got about a 70% chance Saturday, and while there's a chance in the morning for a couple of passing showers, most of it will hold off into the afternoon, looks like by 3 to 6 p.m. And for Sunday and Monday, we may see a little bit more activity in the mornings, but the afternoons also look quite active between about noon and 2 o'clock, ultimately up to an 80% chance for some rain. So it's important to note it's not going to rain all day, but all day there will be a chance for some rain. All right, it's time for your tropical outlook. So we've got a disturbance moving off of Africa. It's a tropical wave, and the National Hurricane Center says it has a 30% chance to develop. National Hurricane Center tracks these very carefully with 7-day outlooks. The next name would be Gabrielle. This may become a briefly lived tropical storm, but there's a lot of wind shear in the tropical Atlantic, so we're not expecting any kind of major system to develop out of this. However, in about 2 weeks' time, this lull in the hurricane season is expected to go away. It'll become a lot more active, and we may see a very backloaded hurricane season where the end of September and October are very busy. There's certainly a lot of heat energy in the ocean. All right, let's get a look at our 7-day forecast. So a 60% chance of rain today. Today's an impact day for the rain and the storms and the timing around Friday night football. Looking ahead to the weekend, 70% chance tomorrow, 80% chance Sunday and into Monday, and then we'll see the rain chances dissipating just a bit into next week. But Garrett, it is the beginning of a very active period. We certainly saw it yesterday, and it looks like we'll definitely see it again today.
Not an ideal holiday weekend forecast, I can tell you that.
No, it certainly is not. If you have outdoor plans on the water, you want to make sure you stay really close to the weather forecast.
All right, Fox 35 Storm Team Meteorologist Brooks Garner, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you, Garrett.
Give you a live look inside the courtroom right now. We expect Lawrence Dority to walk into the courtroom any minute now. He has been in custody, was remanded into custody as soon as he was convicted during that trial last month, and there he is coming into the courtroom now to face sentencing from the judge. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus. As they get settled in, we'll get you back inside the courtroom on the other side of that break as soon as this hearing begins. Keep it right here on Fox Local.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. You see our shot of the Great Seal of the state of Florida on the wall of courtroom 10D in Orange County. That is because Lawrence Dority was brought into the courtroom. He is sitting at the defendant's table. We saw him just a moment ago, right before we came back from break, acknowledging some people in the gallery. There is Judge Greg Tynan, who has presided over this case. They are, I'm not sure the reason they may be waiting for someone or something, but they are dealing with another case at the moment. I'm sure it won't take too long, but they did call another case briefly. So not in the Lawrence Dority sentencing hearing just yet. We will get you to that as soon as it begins. You won't miss anything. This is a case we've been watching closely. Again, Lawrence Dority convicted just last month of second-degree murder after just 90 minutes of deliberations. That's all it took for the jury to come back after several days of trial, a couple of days of trial, and the jury 90 minutes, hour and a half before they returned that unanimous verdict. Doherty shot and killed former Orlando Magic player Adreian Payne in May of 2022. Doherty had claimed self-defense, but the jury did not end up buying that. It looks like things may be getting underway here. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Any legal reason why we're on it? Okay. All right. And this was a jury verdict. Jury did come back with a guilty verdict as charged for second-degree murder. With the possession, discharge, and death resulting from the use of a firearm. Pre-sentence investigation was ordered. The court has reviewed the pre-sentence investigation, and the court has reviewed a sentencing memorandum that was filed by defense counsel, I think, a day or two ago. So with that said, we'll go ahead and start with Mr. Thompson.
Yes, Your Honor, I do
presentation that you want to present on behalf of your client.
Yes, Your Honor, I do have some witnesses I would like to call. Is it, please the court, may I call Ms. Tatiana Mesa?
Okay.
Tell me, swear, this is shot here.
All right, have a seat for me, ma'am. And go ahead and state your full name and spell your first and last name for me.
My full name is Tatiana Mesa. My first name, you said spell?
Yep.
Tatiana. Last name Mesa, Mesa.
Okay.
Good morning, Ms. Mesa.
Good morning.
What is your relationship to Mr. Doherty?
Mr. Lawrence is my fiance.
You obviously know why you're here today for sentencing. Is this something you would like the court to know?
Yes.
You can proceed.
I wrote something. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your Honor, Lawrence is not just a defendant in this courtroom. He is the head of our household. He's the provider for our family. He's a man who leads our home with love and guidance. He's the father that every child deserves. His children need him, not just to survive, but to grow up knowing what it means to be loved, to be guided, and to be protected. Without him, they risk growing up searching for guidance in places that may not always be good. And no sentence to take away their right to a father who gives his last for them, who puts love above everything, and even turns cooking into a moment of joy so that his children know that fun and love live in the heart of our home. Lawrence's character goes beyond our family. Even our home is open. He's provided meals, shelter for anyone. Our home is just open to anyone. Lawrence has never turned anyone away. He's always stopped what he's doing to be there for others. Your Honor, I also want to acknowledge the family who has suffered in the loss of the situation. My heart goes out to them. I can't imagine the pain and I have deep remorse why we're all here today under these circumstances. I say this with respect. Nothing I share is to dismiss the grief, but only to show you the man that Lawrence truly is. Your Honor, I ask you to see Lawrence the way we see him, as a man with a future worth saving and not erasing. To give him more than the minimum would not just punish him, but would punish his children, his family, and many people who rely on his goodness. For their sake and the sake of the community that sees him as a leader, I just would like to respectfully ask for your mercy. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Smith?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Thompson?
Yes, Your Honor. The next witness I would like to call is Ms. Demetria Doherty.
Okay. All right, ma'am, go ahead and state your full name and spell your first and last name for me.
Demetria Doherty, Dimitria Dority.
Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Doherty. What is your relationship to Mr. Lawrence Dority?
He's my son.
Is it something you would like the court to know prior to sentencing? It's your opportunity to let the court know.
I just want to say that I know my child, I raised him, and I know he would never do anything out of maliciousness. I know his heart. I know that he loves hard, and in order for Lawrence I know he feared, and that's the only reason he was in fear of his life. And I know that for a fact, because I know he would not hurt anyone. I know that deep in my heart. He loves his family. He loves his friends. All of his friends showed up for him today. He is a good person, and it's a tragic situation. I feel really bad for the family that this happened to. And I feel bad for our family. It's a bad situation all the way around. I could not imagine this would be happening in any of our lives. All of these families were close. And it's just tragic. And I just ask for mercy. Just mercy for Lawrence. I'm heartbroken. Everyone's heartbroken. Just, that's all I have.
Questions, Mr. Smith?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Your Honor, Mr. Adreian Dority would like to be heard in regards to this.
Okay.
Sorry for this week.
Have a seat for me. And go ahead and state your full name and spell your first and last name for me, okay?
Adreian Dority, Adreian Alexander Doherty, H-A-Y-D-I-A-N, D-O-R-I-T-Y.
Good morning, Adreian. How you doing?
Good, how are you today?
Mr. Doherty, Lawrence Doherty's father.
Yes, sir.
Is there something you would like to say on behalf of your father?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Today I would like to speak on behalf of my father. I ask that you are able to see what's truly right. He has 3 children that do truly need him. Over the years, I have been blessed with the opportunity to have my father with me. And over the years, I have learned many things through him. Whatever he wants to do, he makes it happen, no matter what it is. And I have learned that he is a loving person. He has never, ever, throughout the years that I've known him, been a violent person. He's caring. My father has taught me many things and many things. Every time I've had him, he spoke to me. He has told me ways that I can improve myself. He introduced me to new things, whether it's cooking, art, music, sports. I consider my father as my mentor, my coach, and my best friend. I do not know who I am without my father, and never once a day have I ever gone without my father. Whether he had to go to work, he would take me. In these past few weeks at home, I feel that it has not been the same at all. Something is missing. But as we come home from school, he was there to say, how are you, son? How was your day? What did you learn today? Dear Judge, I hope you find it in your heart to give him the minimum deference. Thank you.
You can step down.
Next and the last witness, Your Honor, is Mr. Carl Davis.
State your full name and spell your first and last name.
Carl Davis. C-A-R-L-D-A-V-I-S.
May I inquire, Your Honor?
You may.
Hey, Mr. Davis, what is your relationship to Mr. Lawrence Dority?
Well, I'm Lawrence's godfather. Okay. Me and his father, we grew up in Claremont, Florida together. Little young boys playing on clay dirt roads and didn't have any passageway to go, didn't know what to do. So we joined the military. We all retired military, and Lawrence, I was there in the hospital when he was a little baby, and he's been raised by leaders. He's been raised by leaders, but I don't know what happened. And to the family that this happened to, well, both sides of the family, I'm so gracefully sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And I'm asking the courts to have leniency on him. And I'm asking the family to have leniency as well. And there's nothing we could do to change anything. We just have to leave it in the hands of the Lord. I don't know what else to say. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
May I be heard briefly, Your Honor? I don't know if you prefer me to talk a little bit now or after.
No, that's fine.
Just speaking on behalf of my client, Judge, I understand that you oftentimes have cases and it could be a very difficult decision for you to determine when to be heavy-handed or when to be merciful. But, Your Honor, I will submit to you, this is one of those cases where it's worthy of your consideration to just issue the minimum mandatory, which is 25 years, followed by whatever term of probation that you find to be suitable. Even the pre-sentence report, it appears that the Office of Parole and Probation was amenable to the same, in that the probation officer who drafted the pre-sentence investigative report stated that they're suggesting a sentence that's in alignment with the sentencing guidelines followed by probation. As I read that, it gave me a logical deduction that this is an expiration date on his sentence, not a life sentence. But something that's in alignment with the sentencing guidelines. Also, as I looked at the score sheet, it appeared that what Lawrence scored out to was less than the minimum mandatory. So, although your hands are bound by the minimum mandatory in this situation, I'm asking the court to consider just the minimum mandatory in the situation, because it's going to be a substantial hardship to the family of my client, and not to be insensitive to the victim's family. That's not my intent, and I apologize if at any moment during the trial or in the scope of my representation of my client, if I gave you the impression that I was insensitive for the facts of this case. Your Honor, even grass grows. You know, my client is 31 years old. He's a father of 3, and not just a father, but an active father. And although the jury has issued a verdict, you know, we respect the verdict. We may not have to necessarily agree with it, but we respect it. And Your Honor, the facts of this case is very difficult. Some people argue that so many other things could have happened. You know, if you're looking back at the facts of the case, and some people playing Monday morning quarterback, looking at the things that could have been done or should have been done. You know, nobody's perfect. You know, under those circumstances, it was just a tragedy. You know, my client was friends with Tara Walker. You know, it appears that they have been best friends for over 14, 15 years at the time of this incident. You know, both families are suffering and will continue to suffer. I do believe my client would like to say something as well. I don't want to step on his toes, but I just felt like it was a moment that I needed to ask the court to have some mercy and grace. You know, you can't undo what happened. This is not one of those situations where my client just came to a person and pulled a firearm out and created a scenario. To, you know, one could argue that he was wrong. But at that moment, he felt like he was justified under the circumstance. Why? He felt fair. He was afraid, you know. Can't undo what happened, Your Honor, but you can ask that if you would give him an opportunity to redeem himself. He's somebody that is amenable to being redeemed, and he could redeem himself and show the community. It could be a true story to convey to people in the community about how to be a better judgment of your decisions, to make better decisions, to try to walk in a different path, to try to avoid conflict resolution. Sometimes, unfortunately, the best teacher is experience. You know, Mr. Doherty, prior to this situation, Your Honor, he was very, very optimistic in his future. He had 3 different certifications. Essentially, he was a barber. He also had a certification to do tattoos. He has a certification to prepare food as a chef. He was literally an entrepreneur in 3 different areas. You know, he's not the type of person that would rely on handouts or ask people for help. He'll try to do it himself. You know, he's a very compassionate person. A lot of people in the community, a lot of people know him. Everybody's just as shocked about the circumstances of what happened. Not just the verdict, just the situation. To hear that he was even involved in a situation. Because that's not his character. He was not known for violence. He wasn't known to go around and create hostility. Mr. Doherty has been a father for a long time. He's just 31 years old, but he has a 14-year-old son. He has an 8-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old daughter. The community stands to gain any time a family can remain intact, understanding that your sentence will require some separation, but Your Honor, 25 years minimum mandatory that you're obligated on the law to issue, I believe is sufficient. enough. It does not, to pretty much be a just punishment in this case without giving more than is necessary or required. It's enough to provide retribution to the victim's family. And I say this without being insensitive. I understand that it's a life that was taken. It's enough to provide deterrence to the public. Some people to hear about a sentence of 25 years, that's a deterrent, Your Honor. It's enough to also allow Mr. Doherty to rehabilitate, to learn more about himself, and learn more about faith and how to be a better person, conflict resolution, things of that nature. He poses a low risk of recidivism, Your Honor. He didn't have a lengthy criminal history. And after you hear from my client today, you will hear his remorse. You can obviously see the extreme family and community support that he has. And we're not downplaying the significance of this type of offense. And at this moment, I would step aside and allow my client to be heard briefly. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Doherty, this is your opportunity to tell me what you want me to know for purposes of sentencing. So if you'd like to make a statement, you're willing to do so, you can at this time. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Lawrence Alexander Dority. I am 31 years old. I have 3 loving, beautiful children. And I first would like to say my heart goes out to the family. And I cannot imagine what you have gone through. I've never in my mind thought I would be here today seeking mercy upon the court for my life. I've never been a violent person or sought after trouble. I've always considered myself a good citizen and a man of God. I have always been a proud Florida citizen my entire life. Since my son was born, I have always instilled in him be a man with integrity and be a man with honor. I was raised in a tight-knit family, a military family with strong values of protecting each other and standing for what we believe in. And Your Honor, that night I did not go out looking for trouble, but trouble found me. I found myself scared, not for just my life, but the life of 3 generations of the Doherty family, my son, myself, and my father. I deeply remorse what happened that night in the bottom of my heart. The media portrayed me as a violent person, but that is not the truth. Tara, you were me and Tatiana's best friend. And I still love you. I still pray for you. Nobody deserves to be in this situation. So here I am. On August 29, 2025, 2 days before my son turns 14, begging for your mercy, Judge. Please take into consideration my background and the facts. I did not wake up that morning with intent to harm anybody. Even that night, I had no intent to harm anybody. I had no intentions on killing anybody or let alone shooting another father. Judge Steinem, please imagine how scared any person could be in a situation like that. And I do have plans for my future, and I will continue to be a positive figure for my community. Judge Steinem, please understand by giving me a long sentence does nothing but negatively impact more lives. It is a generational curse that will be bestowed upon my family, and I promise you that I will be as perfect could be. I promise you that I will continue to be a positive mentor for my community. I promise you that you will never hear anything negative of my name again. I promise you that I will strive to be a law-abiding citizen. Please consider my words, and I promise you I will make everybody proud. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Thompson, anything further?
In addition to the term of incarceration, Your Honor, I also think it's important to note that just being adjudicated for a felony also carries along the collateral consequences that are ongoing and continuous, such as being unable to qualify for certain housing opportunities or government aid, not being able to vote or sit on a jury, not even been able to qualify for life insurance. In certain instances, I've actually been aware that that's something that companies are not willing to assure people with criminal history, and that even that there's so much of a higher risk or something of that sort. But of course, job opportunities and things like that of such. So, Your Honor, it will be an ongoing sentence, no matter how we look at it, you know. So we're just asking you to consider that, have some mercy, and not to render a heavy-handed sentence under the circumstances of this case. My client did not have intentions to kill. It was a tragic accident that occurred. And he's accepting responsibility and remorseful of the situation. It's essentially an offense that occurred in an unsophisticated manner, isolated incident upon which he's shown some remorse. You know, some could even argue that the victim may have been involved, not to provoke it, but at least was a participant in the situation that led to it. However the court would perceive it and how the jury saw it, we're here now. And, Your Honor, the minimum mandatory is enough to provide respect for the law. We're asking that you consider that. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
Your Honor, at this time, the state would call Adreian Payne.
All right, have a seat for me, sir. Go ahead and state your full name and spell your first and last name for me.
My name is Adreian Payne. It's Antiwanpayne.
All right. Sir, speak.
All right. Your Honor, my name is Adreian Payne. I'm the brother of Adreian Payne. My brother was only 31 years old when his life was taken in this senseless act of violence by this murderous person. I stand here today not only as his brother, but as a voice for the entire family, especially for his sons who are now forced to grow up without their father. Adreian wasn't just my brother. He was my inspiration. He was my friend. He was a man that I looked up to. But more than anything, he was a father. He loved his sons with his whole heart, and they were his world. He wanted nothing more than to raise them into strong, respectful young men and successful young men. He was present in their lives, teaching them, guiding them, showing them what love and discipline and dedication really looked like. We all watched how hard my brother not only worked on the court, but off of it. We witnessed his determination, his grind, and his sacrifices he made to become the man and the father he was. Adreian inspired so many, but for us, his family, we felt the love, we saw the pain, he pushed through, and we knew the effort it took. He was building a future for his sons and his family, and everything he did was for them. Now they have to grow up without him. He won't be here to teach them how to throw a ball and how to navigate life or how to be men. He'll miss their birthdays, their graduations, their biggest moments, and most of all, The heartbreakingest thing of all, he never got the chance to meet his youngest son, who was born after his death. The kind of loss can't be measured. Adrian's legacy will live on through his sons and through the people he inspired and through the love he gave so freely. The holes in his absence has left. His sons will still ask why. Why isn't my father here? Why was he taken from them? And there are no good answers. Your Honor, I ask that you take from this man what he has taken from our family. Though it will never bring my brother back, he should never be free to take another father or son or brother or another nephew from their loved ones. I ask that you give him the maximum sentence and he never be free to do this heinous things again. He made that choice and it caused irreversible harm, so he must be held fully accountable for it. Thank you for allowing me to speak on my brother's behalf and his sons and the family, Your Honor.
The state calls Tara Walker.
Tell me story of friend person was shot.
All right, have a seat. State your full name and spell your first and last name for me.
It's Tara Walker, Tarawalker. Sorry, I'm nervous. I want to show you who you took. I want to show you who's growing up without a father. That's Armani. He's 3 now. He doesn't know his dad because of you. I'm here today as the girlfriend and, more importantly, the mother of Adreian Payne's child. On the night of May 9th, not only did you, Lawrence Dority, take Adreian from us, you took away any future we were supposed to have. You stole the man who was supposed to guide our son through life, the man who was supposed to be there for his first steps, his birthday, his first day of school, his graduations, and every special moment in between. Our son will never know what it feels like to run into his daddy's arms after a big game or to hear his voice cheering from him from the stands. That was stolen from him, and it can never be replaced. Because of you, Lawrence, my son has to grow up without his father. He will never know what it's like to have a father-son conversation as you and Havian have. He will never be able to talk to his father and ask for advice. He will never experience unconditional love as you have for your 3 children. All of that has been ripped away because of your senseless actions. My son is only 3 years old. He's far too young to understand what happened and why Daddy is never coming home. He asks me all the time, can we go visit his dad in heaven? What do you say to that? How do you explain that someone took your dad from the child? How do I tell him? My son will grow up without any real memories of Adreian. He only has pictures and the stories of his legacy online. I hope that you relive May 9th for the rest of your life. I relive it every night. Every time I close my eyes and every time I look at my son, I see what you took from us. On that night at 1:30 in the morning, you decided to become the judge, the jury, and the executioner. It's not fair that you get to live, even if it's behind those brick walls. Adreian is gone, Lawrence. He's buried 6 feet under. He was 31 years old, the same age you are today. For that, may God forgive you, because I cannot. No sentence will bring him back, we know that. But what you decide today, Your Honor, that matters. This senseless act of violence, it deserves the harshest punishment that the law will allow. Anything less would be dishonorable to Adrian's life. You took a child's father for no real reason. I ask you with everything in me to hold this person accountable to the fullest extent of the law. His child deserves that much. Adrian's memory deserves that much. Justice deserves that much. And Lawrence, may you never forget this. You didn't just take a life. You broke a family. You destroyed a child. You took so much more than you'll ever know. In the words of Adrian, basketball will forever be my heart, but my kids are my beat. And for that, Adrian will live forever through them. Thank you.
Mr. Smith, anything further?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, by returning a verdict of guilty for second-degree murder with a firearm in this case, the jury rejected that this was a case of stand your ground or self-defense. They also rejected that this was a manslaughter and found instead that the defendant acted with a depraved mind under the law. Now, the family, as you've heard today, would like to see a life sentence, and that's justified. This defendant took someone away that can never be brought back. A father to children, obviously a son, a boyfriend, a friend, a brother. And what sticks out to me in this case is in the video that you hear that the jury heard in this case, he had an opportunity not to do this. He was warned by Tara Walker, who just spoke to the court, don't do this, don't take your gun out. This wasn't a spontaneous thing that happened. This took time. He went and retrieved the gun, and then even in that moment before, if he'd have made a different decision to not pull the trigger, nobody would be here today. But he did make that decision. So I understand the statements by Mr. Doherty and by his family, but ultimately what he's taken away and what he chose to take away cannot be given back. And so the state believes that life in prison is appropriate. Thank you.
All right, both parties have reviewed the PSI? Yes, Your Honor. Any additions or corrections or objections to it?
No, Your Honor. None from the state.
There was an amended one filed. If there was a correction in regards to the minimum mandatory, I believe that may have been a correction.
Right, that was the one that was filed on the 28th.
And Judge, if I can approach with the score sheet.
Have you seen the score sheet?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it's been reviewed by your client?
You haven't seen it? No.
Let him take a look at it. What's the time? 83. Mr. Doherty, you've had an opportunity to review the score sheet with your attorney? Yes, sir. All the information on the score sheet is accurate?
Yes, sir.
Any restitution?
No, Your Honor.
Any cost of investigation?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Doherty, you were, or Mr. Thompson, you were privately retained?
Yes,
Your Honor. All right. Court did sit through the entire trial in this case, is aware of what the facts were that came out during the course of the trial. I've considered the pre-sentence investigation, the score sheet in this matter. I've considered the sentencing memorandum that's been filed by the defense, and I've considered the presentation of the witnesses and the arguments of the attorneys here today. Given all of that, I'm going to impose the following sentence. I'm going to adjudicate you guilty of the offense, sentence you to life in the Florida Department of Corrections with a life minimum mandatory for possession, discharge, and death of the alleged victim in this case with a firearm. You have 83 days credit time served towards that sentence. I'll impose court costs, cost of prosecution fee. Those costs will be reduced to a final judgment. Any other questions or concerns? All right, sir, you have the right to appeal the judgment and sentence of the court. If you wish to do so, it has to be done in writing within the next 30 days. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney for the purpose of an appeal, one could be appointed for you. We'll be in recess.
Lawrence Dority there, you could see saying something, appearing not to be too happy with that sentence, as the judge imposes a sentence of life in prison after what was an emotional sentencing hearing in court in Orange County just moments ago. Family members, friends, others filing out of the courtroom where they sat for that hearing that lasted about half an hour. We heard testimony from a number of folks, some of them testifying in support, asking for leniency. We heard from Lawrence Dority's fiance saying his children need him. We heard as well from his son saying, "I don't know who I am without my father." We also heard very emotional testimony from Lawrence Dority himself, speaking directly to Tara Walker, who is Payne's girlfriend and best friends with his fiance, saying, "I still love you, I still pray for you." But we also heard emotional testimony from the brother of Adreian Payne and the girlfriend of Adreian Payne, Tara Walker, the mother of Payne's children, talking about Payne's son, his 3-year-old son, holding up those photos. Heartbreaking to hear her talk about their 3-year-old asking if he can go see his dad in heaven. She also said that he didn't just take a life, he destroyed a family when he decided to be judge, jury, and executioner all in one on that May night. And she said, "I hope you relive May 9th, the date of that shooting, for the rest of your life," because she said she does. Also saying, "May God forgive you because I cannot." The minimum mandatory sentence for this second-degree murder charge was 25 years, so he could have faced between 25 years and life. We did hear Judge Tynan sentence him to life in prison just a couple of moments ago. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus. Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus, and I do want to give you an update on this breaking news. We had the live picture up for you throughout much of that sentencing hearing, but this is a live look in New Smyrna Beach where a small plane has crashed. This is right outside the New Smyrna Beach Municipal Airport. It happened around 10:30 this morning. You can see that that plane that appears to be upside down, kind of in the brush and the near the wood line there. This is in the area of South Street and Clarendon Avenue, just again just outside the airport there, and you can see a road running right by there. We know 2 people were on board that plane, according to officials. We're told they were both taken to the hospital with serious injuries, although we're told they're not considered to be life-threatening. Just to show you how close it is to the airport, you see that fenced-in area. That is the kind of the boundary and the fence around that airport. So it was close. Likely, I would trying to make an approach and just couldn't quite make it. Unclear what the situation was, what may have led to this. The airport did have to close briefly because of that crash, but it has since reopened. These are live aerials from Sky Fox in New Smyrna Beach. And again, we are trying to learn some more details about this, but we do know that the crews are on the side, crews from the airport, law enforcement, it appears, and EMS was on the scene, obviously, transporting those 2 people on board to the hospital. Again, they do have serious injuries, not considered to be life-threatening, but they are serious injuries. We're trying to learn some more about this. So again, this is right outside the New Smyrna Beach Municipal Airport. You can see the yellow crime scene tape kind of surrounding that, or at least caution tape, I should say, not a crime scene, but as the chopper camera kind of zooms out, you can get that full picture of the airport on the right, the road on the left, and the airplane upside down in that wood line. Still working to learn more, and we will bring you updates as we get them. It is also noon, and we are expecting a ceremony in New Orleans shortly where they're honoring and commemorating the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, which made landfall on this day 20 years ago. Let me give you a live look at New Orleans. You can see the Superdome sites that we saw so much in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, and a site that looked very different back in 2005. So we do expect that ceremony to begin shortly as well. Also want to give you an update on what's happening right now in Volusia County. This is I-4. You look at those eastbound lanes, and it does look like they are moving slowly now. It was closed completely. All those eastbound lanes were shut down for a while because of a crash. This is in Volusia County near Sanford. You see the mile marker 104.7 where that camera is. This is actually the same camera we were looking at yesterday afternoon on the westbound side because of a crash there that that was backing up traffic, causing a lot of problems. So a major traffic impact, even though it does look like the cars are moving slowly now. So just be careful if you're going through that area. You can still see emergency lights. We know that the scene is not cleared, even if it is, even if traffic is moving, even if it's off the roadway. We're trying to learn some more information about that situation and what may have happened there. But just want to let you know, give you that traffic alert. If you are going to be heading through there, that's I-4 eastbound in Volusia County, near the Seminole County line. So keep that in mind if you're going to be going through there in the next little bit. Well, I'm Garrett Weimer, and we appreciate you joining us this afternoon here on Fox 35 News Plus. Still have some more stuff we want to get to here. We are also expecting another update from Minneapolis police this afternoon on the school shooting that happened earlier this week. So I forgot to mention that a couple of minutes ago. Several South Florida lawmakers were in Broward County earlier today, highlighting the impacts of what they were calling the Big Ugly Bill. This is a reference to what Republicans have called the Big Beautiful Bill. We've had a lot of coverage of that. And today, led by U.S. Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, they had a panel discussion, several panel discussions in this public briefing where they talked about some of the issues with temporary tax cuts that they say won't offset the higher cost of living, and also health care and concerns about cuts with some other services as well. We also heard the Broward County mayor talking about the results of the Doge audit there, something that we're watching closely around the state and here in Orlando as well, with the Orange County controversy surrounding that. So I want to play for you just a little bit of that briefing led by Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz earlier today.
The massive tax breaks for the wealthiest, most fortunate Americans by stealing resources from working families and pushing it right into the pockets of the very wealthy is simply cruel and grotesque. There's nothing wrong with tax breaks. We need to make sure that those tax breaks are balanced and that they are targeted towards the middle class and working families so that we can make sure those funding streams get put right back out in our community. So this morning we'll hear from community leaders who can detail how this law will hurt real people and how other executive actions and policies are hurting all of us, and especially how they hurt people already facing high food and housing costs, but who now must confront huge health and other service cuts. I'll cite just a few facts that expose this ugly disparity. Everyone who makes less than $43,000 should expect their taxes to go up and life to get more expensive. If you're a middle-class family, all those promises Trump made about tax breaks and additional benefits were a lie. You're going to see a minimal decrease, if anything, on your taxes. And in fact, those decreases, if you get them at all, are not permanent, unlike the tax breaks for the billionaire class, which were made permanent. But what's a small tax break in the face of rising costs? How will that help you keep up with Trumpflation? Yet the ultra-rich, they get a windfall, with families making over $700,000 a year getting a $13,600 boost from tax cuts. And in 2027, people making over $1 million a year will see their taxes go down, you heard that right, by $97,000. That is breathtaking. Life in America is clearly too expensive, and far too many people are struggling to get by. But even if you make ends meet, too many people are one big health care, car, or home repair emergency away from going into serious debt. So we need tax laws and policies that make life more affordable. We need a child tax credit that reaches all families, like Democrats passed in 2021. Yet this Republican big ugly law actually shrinks the universe of children who can qualify for it and still leaves out the most vulnerable families altogether. And let's face it, all American families need a minimum and sub-minimum wage hike, like the one that Florida Democrats fought to deliver for our state. Yet in the big ugly law, Republicans slashed Medicaid funding and wrapped its eligibility in so much red tape that millions of people will lose coverage. In total, about 15 million people will be without their insurance because of this bill. Just as bad, Republicans are going to allow federal assistance, the subsidies, to buy ACA plans to run out at the end of the year. That's over 2 million people this year in Florida alone between Medicaid and the private market. Democrats fought to ensure that families could save an average of $2,400 a year on health insurance premiums. Yet Republicans' big ugly law completely ignores them. And unless something is done, that's going to massively drive up health insurance costs at the end of the year. That will slam nearly 5 million people in Florida alone. This billionaire bailout law impacts so many other parts of our lives, like defunding resiliency and infrastructure investments that we desperately need and that we know will grow jobs. It also siphons away $500 billion from Medicare, which will hurt seniors' health care options, directly affect providers, and also cut hospital jobs and services. Some communities will see hospitals be forced to shut down. And beyond this bill, there's a horrible array of Trump executive orders and policies that harm our communities. I'm sure you've all heard of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, and its DOGE bags, which is not in any way efficient and has illegally implemented sweeping and unlawful cuts across various federal agencies and programs. Just to name a few, cutting programs focused on women's health, safety, and workforce participation, slashing the Office of Minority Health, which is an office dedicated to improving the health of racial and ethnic minority populations who've been historically underserved and overlooked, dismantling the Office of Infectious Diseases and HIV and AIDS policy, and the Administration for Community Living, which oversees programs dedicated to supporting long-term services and supports and employment for people with disabilities. What does this tell you? Is this about efficiency or fraud or waste? Clearly not. These are deliberate attacks on our most vulnerable, and these are a tiny sample size.
Every American needs to know what is going on in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, and also in the executive, the president's office. We have been fighting in D.C. with very late nights, as Debbie can tell you, where they've been trying to hide behind the veil of darkness so you won't know what's being passed. They have called us in to vote at 1, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we have been fighting to expose what they're trying to do. They will tell you that they are making these cuts because there's a whole bunch of men living in their parents' basements who are taking Medicaid somehow. But it seems like the people they have been attacking realistically have been the most vulnerable. Our seniors, our families who actually need food subsidies, and also our sickly. And that's what we have to look at each other and ask ourselves, what is really going on here? Why are we attacking the most vulnerable so we can give tax breaks to the richest people in the United States? We've even heard them talk about these are entitlement programs. And I said, no, these are actually an American contract in which we have promised the American people that we will have these lifelines to make sure that every American has dignity, especially our children who are on Medicaid, especially our low-income families, and especially anybody who is disabled. So it hurts my heart that they've passed this bill, but it even hurts me and makes me more enraged that they've been spineless and have just signed on to this and been afraid to show up and tell the American people what has been done. As far as District 20, we're about to see over 200,000 people who will be kicked off of Medicaid. 200,000. One of those hospitals that are in fear of closing down is in fact one of my hospitals in the Glades. And what they told me specifically is that they cannot afford to deliver babies if they're not getting paid. So what will mothers do? Drive 2 hours so you can deliver a baby? Well, I will tell you, you're not going to make it. You'll probably have that baby in the car. Who are we as Americans to actually make that a reality? What are we going to tell seniors who actually need food assistance? Hey, we don't have the money for you because we're actually giving tax breaks to Elon and his buddies. Who are we to sit back and say this is acceptable? So I'm happy that we could be here and talk about what's going on, but even happier that we've had so many people who have come out and said that they will stand with us and join the fight, that they will tell the community what is going on. We will not allow them to do this to us, and we will hold everyone accountable. So I thank so much our guests who are brave to be here, because I always say we have to look at the compound effects. This economy, let's be frank, it sucks. It sucks for every single person right now. These poor economic decisions and policies, they suck even more. And when we look at our families and we look at our trajectory, it looks like we're never going to get out of this until something changes.
We are having to cut a lot of positions, no people, but a lot of positions. And we've also just gone through our own Doge experience. And I think what they found was that Broward had a great story to tell for us, and I want us to know that. We're all here from Broward. When the Doge teams came in, they didn't realize out of 3,244 counties in the United States, 47 of them have the highest bond rating possible. Broward's one of them. They didn't realize that we have no debt, none. And we've been able to build our reserves. And this is a county that is run by 9 Democrats. So, you know, I think they were surprised at a lot of our policies. Unlike on the federal level and the state level, where you're seeing contracts be given out to willy-nilly to friends and for favors. In Broward, the elected officials are not on the selection committees. We are relying on our experts, and Broward still has experts. You know, you and I are watching experts be taken away from the CDC, from the BLS, from all these places. Broward is holding on to all its experts, and we rely on them. And our staff is one of the best anywhere. So, you know, this big ugly bill is going to affect us on the county level. But I do think that from the county level, we're going to be able to stand strong. There are a lot of things in there that are on transportation, particularly on environmental issues, climate change issues. Broward County is one of the leading counties in the United States, and I would go so far as to say internationally as well. With our compact, with the resiliency plan that we just put forth, you're seeing it looked at from countries all over the world. COP30's coming up. It's highlighted, those kind of things. So we're going to keep going forward regardless of what's happening on the federal level, on the state level, because it's important, because if it's climate change, we're ground zero. It would be malfeasance not to.
That was earlier today in Broward County. Keep it right here on Fox 35 News Plus. We have more to come. We'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. In court earlier today, this morning in Orange County, was Yosefi Arabu. He is charged in a 2023 deadly hit-and-run crash. He was just arrested earlier this week, and this morning there was a detention hearing where the judge decided he would be detained pre-trial and no bond on one of those charges as well. He was arrested earlier this week. He faces multiple charges in connection with a hit-and-run crash from 2023 that killed a 5-year-old girl and injured 4 others as well. This happened in November of 2023 on North Orange Blossom Trail. Killed 5-year-old Ayanna McCoy. She was a kindergartner at the time. So Arabu was arrested earlier this week, now facing several charges, including vehicular homicide, leaving the scene of a crash, driving without a valid license, tampering with physical evidence, and also reckless driving. Do you want to play for you part of that hearing earlier today?
Argument from the state.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state is asking for pretrial detention in this matter pursuant to 907.041 sub 5 sub D. Mr. Arabu is charged with the first-degree felony of vehicular homicide, failing to render aid. That's a dangerous crime enumerated in the statute. The state believes that based on the sworn documents that the state has provided, there is substantial evidence that Mr. Arabu committed this offense. Among the documents submitted are the FDLE DNA results, which show that it was his DNA and his DNA only that was found on the driver's side airbag. And also, it was his DNA and his DNA only found on the license plate that was removed from the vehicle in an attempt to conceal or hinder law enforcement's ability to figure out who caused the hit and run and when he fled from the scene. The EDR report, the electronic data report from the vehicle, shows that he was driving excessively fast on the Orange Blossom Trail, rear-ended a vehicle, and as the arrest affidavit indicates, he rear-ended a vehicle causing the death of Ayana, a 5-year-old in this case. His present conduct in this case, i.e. fleeing the scene after removing the license plate to conceal evidence, which is one of the other charges he faces in this case, along with his history, as noted in our motion and as supported by the documents we provided, Mr. Arabu was convicted of a crime back in the early 2010 decade. He served a 51-week jail sentence, was placed on probation, promptly absconded from probation, and then was sentenced to 10 years in prison. As discussed earlier, released in 2019. That history, his absconding from probation and his now crime in which he is charged with concealing evidence and fleeing from the scene of a fatal motor vehicle crash, shows that there are no conditions which would ensure his appearance in court or protect the community from further harm.
Thank you, State. Defense.
Yes, Your Honor. First, defense will address the substantial probability that my client committed this offense. The state has not met that burden, Your Honor. Your Honor, there's a lot of inconsistencies in this case and differing viewpoints and information. Two witnesses of the scene, Your Honor, indicated that they believe that there was 3 individuals within the vehicle. That third individual was never found, Your Honor. It's unclear if that individual was actually the driver. Statements from witnesses also indicate that they cannot say who specifically was the driver or which individual got out from which portion or section of the car, Your Honor. So it's still unclear. We just ask you to take that into consideration. I understand that there is a statement from, and I want to make sure I say her name right, I apologize.
Ms. Schulter-Brandt?
Yes. There is a statement from her incriminating my client in this case. However, Your Honor, she has her own interests in this case and her own bias. It was her vehicle involved. This statement with the state attorney's office was actually done months after this incident happened with an attorney present on her behalf, Your Honor. I understand that she made this statement. However, I would point to the court that she had an interest in making the statement and blaming someone else for being the driver. Again, it's her vehicle. I don't know if the civil case happened with this, but I assume potentially a wrongful death case may have happened that may have been against her. Either way, Your Honor, we just ask you to take into consideration the lack of credibility of that statement, as that being the only statement that actually states that my client was the driver. Everyone else is unsure and it's unclear. So we just ask you to take that into consideration. I understand the state mentioned that my client's DNA was found on the airbag, Your Honor, or the driver airbag, Your Honor. His DNA was also found on the passenger airbag, both of them, indicating that there is a chance that he was potentially actually in the passenger seat. Ms. Schulter-Brandt does indicate that he helped her out of the vehicle. It's also possible that he helped her out of the driver's side, and that's how his blood got on that portion, Your Honor. Your Honor, again, the facts and information we would just argue is not enough to support a substantial probability that my client was in fact the one who was driving this vehicle. Again, we still don't know who that third individual is, and we would just ask you to take that into consideration, Your Honor. Additionally, even if you feel as though the state has met their burden and proven this case by a substantial probability despite the inconsistencies in the information, including Ms. Schulter-Brandt changing her story to the police, we would argue that he is not a danger to the community or a flight risk, Your Honor. He has been at the same address since his release from prison. This is a case from 2023. He knew this case was being investigated. Police were talking to him, other witnesses. I believe he is still with Ms. Schulter-Brandt, so I would imagine he was aware of her conversations with the police as well, Your Honor. During that time, he did not attempt to flee. He did not attempt to leave the state or even the city, Your Honor. He stayed at the same place he's been at the last 7 years. Your Honor, defense does want to acknowledge that this is a tragedy and a life was lost, and we're not ignoring that portion, but we are saying that my client is not necessarily the one who did this, nor is he a flight risk or a danger to the community. I understand he has that, that 2010 offense. I would need to do the math, Your Honor, but I believe he was somewhere between 17 and 20 at that time. He was a young man. He's, I believe, 35, 36 now. He's grown, things have changed. I understand that he did abscond from probation at that time, but then he took the sentence and he did his time in prison. And since then, Your Honor, he's been in the area. Again, I just ask you to take into consideration his youth at the time of that sentencing and all the information provided, his ties to the community, and ask that Your Honor find that the state has not met their burden and set a bond at this time.
For that, his prior case, given the charge, would he not have had to be an adult at the time?
I'd have to check exactly, Your Honor. And Your Honor, he was an adult at the time. He was a young adult. I believe he was 19 at the time.
That's okay.
Still young.
I just want to clarify that because you indicated youth or that he was possibly a minor at the time, and that charge would have required him to be an adult in order for it to be an offense because it's an offense against a child. All right. Having reviewed the information that was submitted by the state, including the affidavits, the DNA report, and the EDR report and the affidavit from Ms. Schulterbrandt, here I have considered the arguments from defense counsel, and those are all certainly arguments that can be made to a jury at a later point. However, the standard for the court here is whether the state has proven the offense of vehicular homicide, specifically, that's the charge that we're dealing with here, by a substantial probability. That is a lower standard than the state would face at trial, which is a standard of beyond a reasonable doubt. Here, having reviewed the evidence that was submitted and having considered all of that, specifically the EDR, the defendant's DNA on the driver's side airbag, I understand defense argument that it was also on the passenger airbag, but his is the only DNA found on the driver's side of the vehicle, as well as his DNA found on the license plate. That corroborates the witness statement from Ms. Schulterbrandt, indicating that the defendant was the driver of the vehicle and is the one who removed the license plate prior to leaving the scene. I do find that the state has established a substantial probability that the defendant has committed the offense of vehicular homicide, a felony of the first degree. I also do find, given the fact that the defendant did remove the license plate to the vehicle prior to then fleeing the scene of this offense, as well as his prior history, so considering his present conduct, which was removing the license plate and fleeing the scene, and his prior conduct, which includes a conviction for a serious offense for which he absconded from probation, and was then sentenced to 10 years in prison in that case. He, from all accounts here, was released from the Department of Corrections recently in 2019. Given that history, I do find that the state has established a substantial probability that no conditions of release or bail can ensure the presence of the defendant at trial or protect the community from the risk of physical harm. Here I'm more concerned about him being a flight risk, candidly, given that history of absconding and that he removed a license plate from the vehicle and fled the scene of this offense. So I'm going to grant the state's motion for pretrial detention as to count 1, the charge of vehicular homicide. That count will be set at no bond. I'll stay the bonds on the remaining counts. Anything additional from either party?
No, Your Honor.
Nothing else, Judge.
You see the reaction there from Yosefi Arabu after being told by the judge that he would be detained pre-trial, being held on no bond. We are going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Get you inside this memorial service being held in New Orleans right now, honoring the victims of Hurricane Katrina 20 years ago that it made landfall there in Louisiana. High-end Category 3. You remember the devastating flooding, levee failures, more than 1,000 deaths in connection with this storm, and just absolute devastation. Changed a lot of things about disaster response as well. And we will go ahead and listen in as this prayer service and memorial service continues. That prayer service continuing in New Orleans. It did appear as if Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry was in that front pew when that camera view zoomed all the way out. So honoring those who lost their lives on this day. And on the days that followed. We know it certainly was not just a one-day event with the devastation that was caused specifically in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina there in the Gulf region. We had the chance earlier to speak with meteorologist Brian Norcross with Fox Weather, who talked about this with our GDO crew, about this being the deadliest and costliest storm in the U.S., and here's their conversation.
And I tell you, it's hard for, I think, most people to wrap their head around 20 years, Brian, but what do you remember most about this?
Well, I remember 20 years ago this morning, I was actually working for CBS at the time. Hi, Danielle. Nice to see you again. Danielle and I go way back. And I was doing both the local and the national news to talk about Katrina. And up to this point that morning, we were saying it looks like New Orleans is okay. It looks like New Orleans is okay. We're very concerned about Mississippi because of the big storm surge, but it looks like New Orleans is making it. There's some reports of some flooding, but nothing they can't deal with. And then it was 9:14 a.m. Eastern time that we got the bulletin that the industrial wall, flood wall, the industrial canal flood wall had failed, and this massive torrent of water was going into that part of the city in the lower Ninth Ward. And then through the morning, it became clear that the other flood walls had failed on the northern side, and the lake water was pouring into the city, and it was the mega disaster catastrophe that we had always thought could happen in New Orleans.
And you know, Brian, when we worked together in Miami, you covered countless hurricanes for us there, and you also covered Hurricane Andrew. And so when you compare the two, right, there are so many lessons learned from Andrew. What do you think we learned most from Katrina?
Well, you know, Danielle, well, I said after Andrew, people always ask me, well, you know, what's the big takeaway from the just horror of Hurricane Andrew, the people that went through it? And I said that really the lesson there is that the worst does happen. That sometimes, you know, you plan for the worst, you hope for the best. Most of the time, it's not as bad as it could have been. But in Andrew, in the case of Andrew, it was worse than we imagined, actually. Well, Katrina was worse than we imagined. We knew there was a big threat in New Orleans, and the lesson was very much the same, that you have to plan. You plan for the worst. You use your imagination and think, what could go completely wrong here, that we could get people stranded in neighborhoods and we couldn't get to them, and thousands and thousands of people would be stuck in the Superdome, and that the plumbing wouldn't work, and all the horrors that happened in Katrina were imaginable with real forethought, and they just didn't do it. And that's the real takeaway, is that's how you plan for hurricanes. You imagine the worst, you hope for the best, and you can always back down from your plan, but you can't accelerate it if you haven't made arrangements for those really horrible things that can happen.
Brian, just real quick before we let you go, what types of developments, or what have we learned from Katrina that has helped us moving forward?
Well, we're making better forecasts now, but it comes down to what's done on the ground. A lot of progress was made after Andrew, and then again after Katrina in emergency management. So we need emergency management to function the way emergency management is supposed to function in this country. Let's hope that those lessons are permanent and we stay with them going forward, because that's where the real success is in getting people in the right place, in the right mindset, with the right supplies, to be sure that they have prepared before the storm and are taken care of in, you know, the catastrophe that can happen after the storm.
We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. It is the start of college football season, and I don't know if you stayed up for it, but the UCF game last night, full confession here, I did not stay up for that whole thing. It was a sloppy home opener all around. So the bounce house was rocking until a 2-hour weather delay, a more than 2-hour weather delay. There were lightning and storms in the area that delayed the continuation of the game. I believe that happened in the second quarter when that long delay happened. It was a 17-10 win for UCF, but it wasn't necessarily pretty. Starting quarterback Cam Fancher, who won that role earlier this week, he wasn't exactly effective, and then he ended up being knocked out of the game after a hard tackle. Taven Jackson did end up coming in, throwing a couple of touchdowns in the fourth quarter and helping lock up that win for the Knights against Jacksonville State. We did hear after the game from head coach Scott Frost, DJ Black, a wide receiver, a UCF linebacker, Kelly Lawson, and from Taven Jackson, speaking after that season opening win and the 300th win in program history for the Knights.
Yeah, I got to start off with two things. Number one, I can't tell you how much respect I have for Coach Kelly and the job their coaching staff did and their players. Those were tough circumstances tonight. They did a hell of a job. Played really well, were coached really well. So hats off to them. And second, I can't tell you how much I love coaching here. Even with the stands empty after a thunderstorm, it's just fun here. So I appreciate the people that stayed. Game didn't quite look like I anticipated it would go, but I was really happy with the fight and perseverance of our guys. So, questions?
Coach, a lot to unpack here, but just first of all, the Jaden Williams, that 4th and 1 stop, they have the ball, the game's tied, they have the ability to either go down and kick a field goal or potentially score. They line up quickly, try to catch you off guard, but Jaden Williams sniffs it out. How big was that play enabling you to come back and win?
Yeah, Jaden got game ball. He's one of seems like 100 new guys around here, but he's played a lot of football, and he's very savvy. And when they handed it off, it looked like they dented our line a little bit, and I thought it was a first down. I was getting ready to figure out where to use my timeouts, and he just shot in there and knifed him, and that was probably the biggest play of the game.
Scott, can you talk a little bit about what happened to Cam, in between at the halftime or the delay, I guess, the weather delay, and also Taven, What does it say a lot about him coming in and being able to step up and make those plays at the end?
Yeah, first Cam, got a targeting penalty. That was a big play. It looked like it was going to be a game-changing play for them, and the guy got too high on the hit. His head was fine. It wasn't a concussion or anything. He had a kind of an issue with his back and got some shooting pain down his leg, and he tried to keep it going through the long break, but didn't feel like he could go, and the trainers didn't feel like he could go, so it was plan B pretty quick.
Coach, first points came in the second half of the game. Taven Jackson comes in unexpectedly. A lot of scenarios, a lot of circumstances in this game. What did you see about their fight through adversity?
Fight through adversity was one of the big questions about this team. We got a lot of other questions that we need to address that probably still haven't been answered, but I was wondering how this team would respond when things got hard and whether or not they'd fight or not. And the defense just kept fighting. They gave up one long touchdown drive and otherwise came up with stops when they needed them. And the offense kept plugging despite shooting ourselves in the foot a lot, and really good play from them. Kept plugging and found a way to make a couple big plays.
Coach Miles, more than 150 yards all-purpose. Just how much does this offense need him to do what he does?
Well, we need to, first of all, I love Miles. He is the captain of this team. Not officially yet. We had 4 captains tonight, but he's the leader. You got a good kid when, and I'm looking at my play sheet frustrated, and he comes over and encourages me, and that says a lot about Miles. But, going forward, we got to rotate those guys a little more, and Stacey Gage is a good player, and Jay Nixon's a good player, and AG is a good player. This game was just tight the whole time, and he's a warrior, and he stayed in and handled the bulk of it. But I'm really glad Miles is with us.
Coach, you talk about the defense a little bit, with the way they held
Jacksonville State to 3 and 15 on third down. A lot of that had to do with the defensive line. How do you feel about their tenacity, keeping them off the board, specifically Horace Lockett as well, getting back there a lot himself?
Yeah, no, we thought the D-line was going to be one of our strengths. It looked like it tonight. It's game one. We have a lot of improving to do, but there's certainly some bright spots, and the D-line was one of them. I thought they kept the pressure on Wimsatt all night. Thought they did a good job in the run game for the most part. We got a lot of guys who can play, and we rotated them through, and those guys made a big difference in the game. But it wasn't just them. I thought the corners played really well, and obviously the safeties came up and played well. It's going to get harder when we play Big 12 opponents, but luckily we got about a month until that happens.
What was kind of the debate or conversations you might have had with your assistants as far as that last offensive drive, to whether to burn clock and on third down you guys take the deep shot for the touchdown? What was maybe the juggling of trying to make sure they don't get the ball, but also to go out to finish the drive and score?
Yeah, I'm going to compliment them again. We couldn't scheme much in this game, so we had to be kind of vanilla, and not necessarily with our schemes, but we couldn't go in and say they do this, we need to do this. We just didn't know. And then within the game, they were coming from everywhere and lining up in odd and even and different coverages, and so it's hard to even with the video we can watch now, it's hard to even say, hey, let's get in this formation and run this, because they did a great job mixing it up. And with no real film to prepare for, that was tough, and I give credit to them. That last drive, we hit a couple plays, and Tay made a couple big plays, and particularly the third down run. We kind of rolled the dice with that call that was only good against a certain defense, and we happened to get it. He did a good job making the play with his legs. We called another one like that on third down, and they made us give it because of pressure, and we got a yard, and second down wasn't that productive, and I guess we just kind of sat there and said, let's win this thing. I think a lot of people probably expected us, maybe they expected us to call something and kick a field goal, but we still had a few bullets in the chamber to place to call, and we hit one.
Late in the game, especially when Taven came in, he was using a lot of safety valves like Dylan Wade. Was that brought in to kind of ease Jackson into the game, or was there something else going into that?
No, that was really a function of their defense. They were coming after us, and when they did a good job, filling with safeties that were playing deep in the run game, but then when they saw pass, they were playing really deep on us, until that last bit where they're up trying to stuff the run, and that gave us a chance. But, they were just dropping so deep, they were kind of taking away our things downfield and leaving the check downs there. We got to be more efficient taking those. We missed a couple and stepped out of bounds on a couple. If that's what they're going to give you all game, you got to take them all game. But that didn't have anything to do with the quarterback, just had to do with their defense.
Coach Frost, we saw a significant difference in the offense between the first half and second half of the game. We'd like to know, are you still sticking to your UC fast strategy, or are you trying something else?
We'll do that when it counts, at times, when it's appropriate. And we'll see game to game how fast it's going to be. They're a team that does it themselves, and our plan going into the game was to earn a couple first downs and then go fast. The first drive was going pretty well, and we shot ourselves in the foot. And the second drive, probably threw a ball on a bubble when it shouldn't have been thrown, and missed a block. And it was just a lot of little things like that. Offensively, you either have to create more explosive plays, or you have to be really consistent. Because if you're going to have 13 play drives, sooner or later something bad could happen if you don't execute really well. So we need to be better at both, creating explosives and being consistent. And when we get really good at that, we'll maybe try to do it faster.
I can imagine a game like this, you didn't have a chance to soak in.
Yeah, except the rain. We got a really young team, and that's not an excuse. I wanted it to go better.
particularly offensively. It's hard to say you wanted to go better on special teams or defense with the performance they had. Offense, we got a lot of young, inexperienced guys, and I thought that showed up a little bit tonight. Took us out of a couple scoring chances, and had some plays that didn't hit. You're just kind of in the wrong place or did something a little bit wrong. But it's just so fun being in this stadium. And so even though it didn't go exactly how I wanted it to go, and the night was weird with all the breaks, and we spent a lot of time in the locker room together, we're going to keep getting better. And we got a young team I think has a chance to improve, maybe at a steeper climb than some other people that have a lot more experience. And I'm going to love every bit of it because it's just awesome being the coach here.
Defense ends up in that penalty situation with less than 2 minutes to go, and then they bounce back and force the turnover on downs. When discipline escapes them in those moments, what can be said about their resiliency to bounce back and make the right play? Yeah, resiliency was great. The penalties were the problem. We didn't have a lot of penalties. They were just wrong time, and it's little things. You can't push off somebody when you're getting up. You got to keep your head and not get offsetting penalties and get one for the team. Holding play on a touchdown. A targeting, I'm sure that wasn't intentional, but it just kept seeming like it was happening at the wrong time for us to catch any momentum. Those things got to get cleaned up. Those are first game mistakes and undisciplined mistakes and or selfish in some cases. So those things will definitely be addressed. But the perseverance part and continuing to fight, thought that was outstanding.
Coach, piggybacking off that, I mean, like, how much better can this team get from week 1 to week 2, and what are the things, that you'll really address in this week coming up?
Well, I think we can improve a lot, but I think we need to. Again, particularly on the perimeter, we got kind of stuck handing the ball between the tackles a lot because of some mistakes early on the perimeter. Part of it was their defense, again, giving them credit, but when they have too many in the box, the ball's got to go outside, and we got to be efficient with that, blocking the perimeter or running our routes on the outside, so when the game dictates it, we can cash in, and we didn't do a good enough job of that, so we got to go back to work on those things and make sure we're efficient on those types of things.
Coach, what can you tell us about Cam Fancher's status after this, and what does this say about Taven going forward, considering with week 2 coming up?
Yeah, I don't want to comment on that right now. I love both kids. Cam's a warrior. I really don't know yet. I was told he was out for the second half, or I don't remember which break it was after. I guess the first one, but I'll talk to the trainers either later tonight or in the morning and have something more going forward.
Coach, there was a number of offsides calls throughout the game. Is this a case of the defense just being a little overly jazzed because it's the first game, and how can things be shored up for next week?
Yeah, you reminded me of more. I mean, offsides at the wrong time and giving them first downs, and false start on the 1 yard line. That one was interesting because I'm not sure what was said to get our kid to jump off sides, but we got to be more disciplined than that. And you can go back and watch the tape, and we didn't capitalize on a lot of opportunities. We didn't make the play when we needed to, or we made a mistake when we couldn't. And again, I thought they did a great job on the other side of staying in the game, and we got a lot to clean up.
I know you have a lot of special memories from this place, but was there any particular moment before the game, during the game, that just kind of came to mind of how happy you are to be back at UCF?
You know what the coolest one was, is I was sitting back in this, what they call my office back here, and my son and oldest daughter came in to see me at the game. That didn't happen last time I was here. So it's great. I'm so grateful to have an opportunity to do this, particularly with my kids old enough to understand what's going on right now. And when I wake them up in the morning, we'll be able to tell them we won.
Well, what did you guys do during the 2-hour rain delay? What happens during that break?
We just kind of, I came in right away and told them I thought it would be longer than what they were saying. So we had them take their pads off and cleats off and kind of hang out. We debated going back into our facility, but we stayed in here. Andrew Sims, our DFO, was smart enough to order some sandwiches. So I think Horace ate 15 of them, and then made them work. But not much you can do. You know, just try to stay loose and get ready to go back out, touch your toes, and attack.
All right, DJ, I see a pretty tense moment towards the end of the game. Can you just kind of talk about getting wide open and seeing that ball coming your way and scoring that big touchdown?
It was just a great play call by Coach Frost. The offensive line held up real well. B-Wade made a good block on the edge. And then Taven just threw me a great ball, and it was just landed right in the pocket.
DJ, when you looked at this game and Coach Frost talked about the resiliency, what did you guys have moments maybe where you're talking about maybe facing this adversity and trying to find a way to get past it?
Yes, sir. That's something that we go through at practice every day. You know, just making sure that no matter what happens, we able to just bounce back from it and keep making plays.
DJ, obviously Taven Jackson enters the game after a rain delay, a lot of weird circumstances. What did you see out of him and his ability to just step into the pocket and make clutch throws towards the end of the game?
He did a great job stepping in. He was great all fall, all spring, and, you know, he just doing his thing by stepping up. You know, it was sad seeing, you know, Cam go down, but having him being able to step up and make a bunch of plays is amazing.
Coach said there were a lot of mistakes here, things that need to be cleaned up. You saw that in the offense as well, and know that this team can be better than what you saw tonight.
Yeah, we shot ourselves in the foot a lot of times. We got some things we need to clean up, penalties that held us back a lot, stuff. So, you know, going into practice and stuff, we're going to wrap. No matter who's in the game, we still got to be able to go out and execute.
DJ, what brought you here to UCF from the first place, from the transfer portal, an unusual situation with your university closing? So what was it like just going through that whole process?
It was very weird going through the recruiting process for really the first time, getting in the transfer portal and stuff. But, I mean, once I got to Orlando, I just knew this was home. This is the place for me.
You obviously had a lot of adversity in this game, whether it was the weather or the quarterback change, you know, maybe frustration over not maybe having the game you guys wanted to. But what does it say, first game, to overcome all of that as you look to improve heading into week 2 and the rest of the season?
It just shows how strong and how much we can face adversity. That was our whole thing going through the spring and the fall. It's just no matter what happens, we still have to do what we need to do, go out and execute, whether it's the weather or, you know, penalties, bad play, we still got to do what we got to do.
A little bit of obviously a slow start for the offense tonight. Do you guys feel like you're a lot better than maybe what you showed tonight?
Yeah, I think we way better than what we showed tonight. Like I said, we shot ourselves in the foot a lot of the time. It was just us being us. So once we just eliminate those small mistakes and hone in on the details, we're going to be an electric offense.
DJ, is that like Coach Frost said, the offense is young and inexperienced. Where do you think you guys could get better off from week 1 to week 2?
Small details, penalties, making sure that we having good technique, not keeping our poise. I know I had a penalty, unsportsmanlike penalty, so it's just little stuff that we just got to fix that can just slow us down.
DJ, low-scoring game. The defense kept it neck and neck all the way until the end. Talk about their effort and the ability to give you guys the opportunity to win the game in the fourth quarter.
Oh, yeah, their effort was amazing. I mean, I knew they was going to go out there and do their job because they've been doing the same thing to us all spring and fall, so I wouldn't expect nothing less.
You have an electric moment. The team gets a win. Just what's the emotion knowing that happens on game 1?
The emotion is a lot of emotion. Mostly just being out there with my teammates. I made a close relationship with everybody on the team, so it's just like being out there and celebrating this with them is just amazing. Just going back to the sidelines and being with my boys and celebrating the touchdown and the win.
Just kind of reflect on this game a little bit. You guys were able to keep the game in hand, allowing the offense to eventually come back and take the lead. Just kind of talk about the overall defensive effort you guys showed tonight.
Yeah, that's really the staple of I think what makes this group of men special. Coach has harped on this since day one about speed and effort, and everything else will solve itself. It wasn't by any means what it needed to look like, and that's not only on us, but that's credit to the guys that were lined up against us. So week to week, we just got to dial in on the little details, the finite details, and come back better.
Kelly, describe the blocked field